Hey, my friends, this is Liquidy, and today's show we're talking about eating gluten-free Indian cuisine. So we're going to talk about why you would want to eat gluten-free Indian cuisine, why Indian cuisine is great for people who are gluten-free and vegetarian, and also we're going to talk about some gluten-free Indian dishes such as biryani and dosa and korma and paneer and papadam and raita and tandoori chicken and tikka masala, all of my favorites. So hang tight for an awesome episode on gluten-free Indian cuisine and how you can order gluten-free Indian cuisine at the next Indian restaurant.
Welcome to the Travel Gluten-Free podcast, where you can listen in on how to lead a gluten-free lifestyle with more fun and ease. Travel gluten-free is like having a best friend by your side to give you the most up-to-date gluten-free traveler information. Let Travel Gluten-Free be your #1 source for tips, tricks, and advice you can use to safely navigate your next gluten-free travel adventure. Enjoy food, enjoy travel, and enjoy life. And now, here's your show host, Illiquity.
All right, my friends, we're back with Eating Gluten-Free Indian Cuisine. This is Season 9, Episode 15 of the Travel Gluten-Free Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And if you're new, welcome. We have lots of really great episodes for the past 8 seasons and this season, so definitely check out the other episodes. Read the title, see what interests you, and definitely find out more about traveling gluten-free, especially if you've just recently been diagnosed with celiac disease. So today we're going to talk about gluten-free Indian cuisine, and the reason we're talking about Indian is because Indian cuisine is one of those things that actually one of the easier cuisines to eat, ethnicities to eat as far as food wise, because Indian cuisine typically does not have a lot of wheat in their cuisine. Like Italian has a lot of wheat, and German food has a lot of wheat, and Austrian food has a lot of wheat. But Indian, there is some, but not much. Like, for example, the naan bread is going to have wheat because that is made of wheat. There's a few other things. Typically, like if you find like an Indian restaurant that has like dumplings or something, which isn't very often, but things like that will have wheat, but they're pretty easy to avoid wheat in Indian cuisine. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just assume that anything that's not naan is completely gluten-free. One of the things I definitely stay away from, because I've gotten sick from them, is eating lentils. And a lot of vegetarian dishes in Indian cuisine have lentils in them. So I also stay away from those because in America, the FDA has said, hey, it's okay to have 10% of other grains in with lentils. And so I think the reason I got sick at this one restaurant is because I ate a dish with lentils in it. And because I have had many other dishes at that same restaurant and never got sick, but I believe there were some wheat grains in the lentils and I was really sick for like a week. So that's the one thing I do stay away from just in general is lentils. It could have wheat grain in it, and that is okay with the FDA, but not okay with my dietary system, clearly, and not okay if you have celiac disease. So I definitely stay away from lentils. It's one of the things I stay away from in Indian cuisine besides naan. Indian cuisine, just so you know, it does have lots of gluten-free options. It is regional. So there's different regions, like there's north and south, east and west. And so each Indian restaurant you go to might have slightly different spices in their food because depending on their region of India that the chef comes from. And so that's always a really good thing to know. One of the things I love about cruises is a lot of times the head chefs are Indian, and you find some really good Indian cuisine on cruise ships. A lot of the times, most of the things they make on the cruise ship as far as Indian cuisine is gluten-free. So that's a really great benefit to having an Indian chef on a cruise ship for sure. So we're going to go over today and talk about dishes you can find at an Indian restaurant. So one of the ways, but before we do that, let's go over how you can find a good Indian restaurant. So one of the things, and this is with all ethnicities, if you see a lot of people of the same ethnicity eating there, it's probably a really good place to eat as far as the food flavor, right? So like if you see a lot of Indian people going into an Indian restaurant, or if you see a lot of Thai people going to a Thai restaurant, or if you see lots of Japanese people going into a Japanese restaurant, or if you see a lot of Italian people going into an Italian restaurant, you know that's authentic. And a lot of these places, some of them could be holes in the wall, but definitely always check reviews. And one of the things I love to do is go on the Find Me Gluten-Free app and find restaurants. You can also just find an Indian restaurant near you, even if it's not on the Find Me Gluten-Free restaurant. Call ahead of time to find out if they do have lots of gluten-free options. If they don't know what gluten-free means at all, I definitely wouldn't go to that restaurant. But if they can tell you what their gluten-free options are, or if it's marked on their menu, sometimes I will find places that aren't on the Find Me Gluten-Free app, just simply by going there and asking them, calling them up, asking them the questions. And if I feel safe, I will go and eat there. And if I don't feel safe, I just don't go and eat there. That's something to note when you are looking for Indian food at a restaurant. Some Indian dishes are really easy to make at home. There is, like, I think it's called sukiyari, a woman. She's from India, and she makes sous vide meals, which basically means they are boiled already and pre-cooked. So all you have to do is heat them up in the microwave, and they are fantastic. And she makes like several different Indian dishes, including yellow rice and some other really good stuff. So there's lots of different Indian foods you can also find and make at home. But these are some that you can typically find at an Indian restaurant. So one is biryani, which is biryani, and that is rice, fish, veggies, and yogurt. And of course, always ask your server, like, is this gluten-free, that specific biryani dish? But I've had biryani dishes that are gluten-free and they're amazing. I tend to love dishes with yogurt in them. So if you're new to have celiac disease and you have lactose intolerant, you'll probably want to stay away from the yogurt dishes. If you can eat dairy, biryani is a really good choice. Butter chicken, which is also known as murg markhani, is a mild curry and tomato sauce chicken. Sometimes, depending on the mood I am, I like tomato sauce, and sometimes I don't. So depending on, I may get butter chicken. Dosa are the thin pancakes, and they're usually made from rice and lentils, but I'm avoiding lentils, so I'm not eating dosas anymore. But always check with your server to see if it has wheat in it, because some Indian dishes have incorporated some wheat into them, and but some have not, and they're authentic. So another one is korma, which is braised meat, veggies, and curry, coconut cream, and it may have almonds. So if you have a nut allergy, you also want to be aware of that as well. All right, my friends, we're going to take a quick break right here. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some more Indian dishes you may love to eat at an Indian restaurant. Hey, gluten-free friends, it's Liquidy. We know that traveling gluten-free can be hard, but you know what? It doesn't have to be impossible. You can still travel and be independent, have fun, and be in control of your life. Travel the way you want to, even with celiac disease. I know because I travel extensively several months out of the year with celiac disease. If you want to get started on learning more about how to travel gluten-free, grab my free ebook, 10 Tips for Traveling Gluten-Free. In my ebook, you're going to find the basics of traveling gluten-free, from the questions you need to ask when dining out to air travel and cruise travel advice. You're going to find my top tips that I've learned from my expertise. Get your free ebook today by visiting my newly revamped website, www.travelglutenfreepodcast.com. Go to the bottom of the welcome page where you're going to see the beautiful Caribbean boat picture. Click there and sign up today. Receive your free ebook, which is going to be dropped directly into your inbox. Remember, go to www.travelglutenfreepodcast.com. Go to the bottom of the welcome page and get your free ebook and find out my top tips for traveling safely when you're gluten-free. All right, we're back, and this is the second half of gluten-free Indian cuisine. One of the things I wanted to mention and add to the the regional types of Indian cuisine as far as spices are, Southern Indian cuisine is typically more spicier and has more rice and has more fish and coconut based dishes. So that's something to know, especially if you have a fish allergy. You may want to go to an Indian restaurant that doesn't specialize in South Indian cuisine. But if you love the spicy food like I do, it's definitely good. They always ask you, do you want mild, medium, or hot? I never get the hot, because hot Indian food is a whole, that is not for the American palate. Our American palates are so not used to that spicy of food. Plus, with my digestive system, I wouldn't get anything that spicy. So depending on the mood I'm in, I'll either do mild or I'll do medium, but I never do more than like a 4 or 5, because even a 5 for me, and I love spicy food, is like, holy moly, my mouth's on fire. Someone get the oral fire extinguisher, because it is hot. So just keep that in mind when you go to order Indian food. If you don't like spicy food at all, always order a mild, like a 1 or a 2. Some Indian places will let you order a 0, but I think they're probably like rolling their eyes at you if you're going to an Indian place ordering a 0. But typically, like 1 is super mild, 5 is kind of medium. Sometimes they do 1 to 5, sometimes they do 1 to 10. Usually it's 1 to 5, and I'll order a 3 if I'm in a mood for spicy food. And if I am not in the mood for spicy food and want something a little mild, I'll order a 1. Keep in mind, Indian spicy is at a whole different level than American spicy. So it's much spicier in general, even if it's a Northern Indian cuisine. So keep that in mind when you're ordering your spice level for your food, because that's really important to know. Let's go back and check out some more dishes. Oh, one of my favorites, paneer. And I love palik paneer because palik is the cheese. And so there's these little like Indian cheese squares, which I love. And saag paneer is spinach. So I love getting saag paneer because it's vegetarian. It's basically spinach and cheese and the sauce. And oh, it's so creamy and so delicious. I love paneers. And there's many different kinds of paneers. Like I said, there's saag paneer, there's palik paneer, there's different types of paneers. So anytime you see the word paneer, it means that it is a dish, has that sauciness to it, which I really love. There's papadam, which is crisp bread, and that's made with lentils, and it comes with a chutney. Now, papadam, I said earlier, I don't eat things with lentils. Okay, I kind of lied because I do eat papadam. I love it, but you just have to make sure it is not fried in a fryer that has something that has wheat in it. I accidentally made that mistake and started taking a couple bites, and I did not feel good from my papadam the last time I had it. So the chutney that it typically comes with is mint, and I've never seen a mint chutney that has gluten in it. Of course, ask your server, make sure and double check with them. And then it also comes with a different chutney, and so most chutneys are gluten-free, but you have to check. I've never seen a mint chutney that has gluten in it, but always check with your server to see what chutneys have gluten and which chutneys are gluten-free. Chutney is amazing. If you don't know what chutney is, it's a bunch of herbs or fruit that is like minced up together. It's kind of like a jam, but it's for meats and sauces, but it's chunkier. So it's kind of a fruit salsa that's made specifically for meat, or a herbal salsa that's made for meat or dishes or breads. And so I love chutneys. So anytime I go to an Indian restaurant, I'm like, what chutneys can you give me that are gluten-free? Because they're so flavorful and they're so delicious, especially when you get a really good, authentic Indian restaurant. I have literally like eaten chutney. I just out of the cup and drank it. It's so good. It's amazing. Another dish I love is raita. It's Raita, and that is a yogurt cucumber dish, which is really good. And that's usually vegetarian. Peanut yogurt, that might not be a choice or option for you right now. Vindaloo is so amazing. I've had so many different types of vindaloo. And what vindaloo is a hot curry, and it usually has chili, wine, or vinegar in it. But they're so yummy. And I love like the way the spices come together. And vindaloo is another one of my favorite Indian dishes. Tandoori chicken is really good. And it's usually very red on the outside because it's marinated in yogurt spices, usually lime juice, and grilled in a tandoor clay oven, which gives it that redness. Oh, it's really good. And it's just basically plain chicken. Every Indian restaurant I've eaten at, it's gluten-free, but again, double check with your server. And another one that's really great is tikka masala, which is marinated chunks of chicken in yogurt, spices, and roasted over charcoal in a tandoor oven. Pretty much anything in a tandoor clay oven is going to be fabulous because that clay oven gives it that yummy flavor that I absolutely love. So that's the end of this episode. It's another short episode of Travel Gluten Free. I hope this has given you some ideas of some Indian dishes you can most likely eat at your local Indian restaurant. But if you haven't tried Indian food at all, I highly recommend trying it. It's one of my favorite cuisines. It was one of my favorites before I was gluten-free, and it's still one of my favorites because there's so many great spices. Indian chefs know how to spice their food. And the combination is really, really good. Another thing is they usually have rice pudding for dessert at Indian restaurants as well. So that's something we can eat. I have never seen a rice pudding that is gluten-free. So that's always a good option. It's definitely better than flan or chocolate lava cake, which everybody offers you pretty much at every place, or brownies or cookies. So I love rice pudding. I loved it as a kid. And I still love it as an adult. And it's pretty easy to get rice pudding that is gluten-free at an Indian restaurant. So you'll probably have a dessert choice. Another thing I love that I hadn't talked about either, mango lassi. That is a yogurt drink, and they have it in like mango, usually have the strawberry, some days have in vanilla. My favorite by far is the mango lassi. So it's a yogurt drink that you get. It's super yummy. It's kind of almost like a yogurt smoothie, but it's not like really thick. It's a thinner. If you're there and you can do dairy, definitely try the mango lassi. Mango lassis are fabulous. Questions about Indian cuisine, please hit me up on my website, travelglutenfreepodcast.com. And remember to download my free ebook, 10 Tips to Traveling Gluten-Free. All right, enjoy food, enjoy travel, and enjoy life. This is Aliquity signing off, and I will see you next episode.
Travel Gluten Free Podcast is a production of Travel Gluten Free LLC. Looking for a great way to connect with over 2,000 consumers per month? Contact Aliquity for information on sponsorship levels to boost your business. Subscribe today so you won't miss a single episode of Travel Gluten Free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.